Morning everybody and welcome to Yarndale. My name's Graham, I'm the proprietor of Caithness Yarns, and more importantly I'm the farmer here at Ballachlai Farm in Caithness in the far north of Scotland. And I'm here today to talk to you about high quality environmental farming for better quality wool, which makes better quality yarn. This is some of our yarn. This is my North Country Cheviot. This is the Aran weight. This is the finished product. It's undyed, unbleached. Have a look. Let me hold it up to it for you. Get it in focus. There we go. That's what you get. I can't obviously let you have a feel of it. If you see me at a show next year, come and have a squish. But the point is that high quality farming, as we do a lot of in this country, produces the best wool. Never mind any of that foreign stuff. What you want to be buying these days is the best of British. Now, this is the raw material. This is what we're looking for. This is a fleece. I just grabbed this out of a bag. Hasn't really been selected. This is so soft, so lovely. And this hasn't even been sorted. Let me show you the choice bits. Look at this. This is the greatness of the wool. I showed this to a big wool manufacturer down in Huddersfield about a year ago, and he was absolutely amazed at the quality. I have something to do with that, but not a huge amount. The girls, my sheepies, they do all the hard work. This is the other thing that we farm here. This is Castlemilk Murret. This is one of Britain's rarest breeds of native sheep. This is its natural colour. Castlemilk Murrets are an ancient breed that has been refined in the 20th century, start of the 20th century in Dumfriesshire, and they are little brown sheepies, big horns, lovely girls. I've got about 70 of them. I've got maybe about 150 of the white shields at the moment. It's alright, vernacular. Chiel, Caithness dialect for person. So, a Chile sheepy. Okay, now the sheep do the hard work. They grow the wool, and what I do is I try and help them the best as I can. For me, my business ethos and my farming ethos is wool is my crop. Now, that's the opposite of what most sheep farmers do these days. Most people, lamb is their crop and wool is a byproduct. For me, wool is my crop and lamb is the byproduct. This has several important things, several important effects on how I farm. I'm looking to produce the very best wool that I can. Now, the key, the success, everything that I've done as a farmer the last 6-7 years has been to improve the happiness and the health of my sheep. Put succinctly, happy, healthy sheep make better wool, make better yarn for you. And it also makes me happier as a farmer. There's nothing that I like better than tinkering with my farm. I consider my farm my creative outlet. A little bit of crafting on the side. I do knit a little bit, but I'm not very good. For me, I am the custodian of this little piece of heaven for the duration. How long that is, who knows. And what I want to do is I want to pass it on in a better condition than when I found it. Not that it was in a bad condition when we got it. We have been here for 25 years, but we're from the valley here in Dunbeath. Now, the genesis for all of this was about 7 years ago. I was starting to get really annoyed by the fact that we were producing loads of this fantastic wool, best wool in the world, and we weren't getting paid for it. British Wool Board, bless them. They pay a pittance. It doesn't cover the cost of shearing the sheep. Now, considering it's a world-class product, that's just shameful and cannot be right. So, I kind of thought about what I was going to do, and I spent a couple of years thinking about it and getting ready for the change. And I thought carefully about how I was farming. Most farmers, we're now into maybe the third, sometimes the fourth generation of farmers who've been to the university to be taught modern scientific farming. That's all about intensivity. It's a mindset, it's a policy driven by food security. After the Second World War, Britain, the governments, successive governments, wanted Britain to be more self-sufficient for food. I mean, they needed to produce more food. So what they did was they took farmland, which has a natural potential for X, and they looked for ways to push that higher. So it would be X plus 1, plus 2, plus 3. That's now been going on for bordering 70 years. A little bit less, a little bit more, depending on what kind of farming you do. And we're starting to feel the effects of that. There are various reports. There was one by the UN, which really was horrifying about 5 years ago, which said that intensive farming, the constant ploughing, the topsoil, the constant use of nitrogen fertilizers was causing a steady degradation. Just a little bit of degradation, just like a little bit of a quarter to a third of a percent every year. It's not a lot, it's not noticeable 1 year to the next, or maybe even 1 decade to the next, but it's been 70 years now. So that's a big amount of degradation in our ability to farm. And the answer to that has usually been to double down and become more dependent on high-tech, modern fertilizers, better utilization of fertilizers. Nah. I contend completely the opposite. And I'll tell you the wee story that lies at the basis of this. When I was in my 20s, I was away. I spent most of my 20s working for various booze firms around the world. I worked for oil bins for 5 years. I worked in vineyards in New Zealand, Australia, other places. And I became very enamored with a viticulturalist from Australia, a guy called Smart. Name says it all, really. And what he contended was that there is a natural potential in the ground and that you should balance the vine and the grape production with the potential. Now, that sounds really obvious, but it's not really how people were thinking, because they were looking to overpower nature rather than working with it. And I've taken that when I've come home and I was looking for a new methodology for farming. I thought to myself, if we stop artificially pushing the environment, what we'll do is we'll find a balance with how many sheep we can keep healthily with what the soil and the environment of the farm can healthily support. And I thought, well, if we take a bit of a hit in our stocking level, I'll still be happier. By the way, it's still more economical to do what I'm doing than it is to do what other folk, because policy was and farming methodology was based when oil was like 5p a gallon. I exaggerate. But you got to remember, artificial fertilizers are made from oil. So the price of oil now, it's not as high as it was 5 years ago, but it's still pretty high. And so the price of farming has risen. So the economical benefit for the farmer has shrunk because costs have risen massively and return stayed the same. That's poor economics. So what mine does is my financial cost is low because I'm not pouring on these expensive fertilizers. It's cheaper to do because I'm not ploughing my fields and reseeding them with high sugar or modern ryegrasses. Instead, what I let my sheep do is I let my sheep graze the natural soil. I maybe fiddle a little bit with the pH, but that's the application of locally sourced lime. It's from the west coast of Scotland, and if the pH is up about 6, the grass is happier. In fact, the whole sward is happier. And it's naturally here about 4.5, 5, which is very low, which is too low. So a little bit of lime every 7 or 8 years, maybe 10 years, depending on the pH. For me, that is working. I'm not a purist about such things. That is a good thing for me. Now, let me get back on track here. What we're looking for is happy, healthy sheep. And the aim of getting happy, healthy sheep is that they should be eating a better diet. To get a better diet, the sward, that's the grass and what they're eating, has to be healthier and better for them. To make that better by these policies, what you do is it's more labour intensive, you spend more time in it, it's detail orientated. You're talking about careful management of the height of the grass. If you let it get too overgrazed, that's damaging. If you let it grow too long, that's damaging. So what you do is you balance the number of sheep with the potential growth in the fields. You don't alter the potential of the field to the number of sheep, you alter the number of sheep to the potential of the field. It's turning most everything around, and you find a natural balance between potential and how many sheep you can keep in a healthy, happy manner. It also means that there's a more diverse array of things for them to eat. You are, after all, what you eat. So if you're not eating high sugar ryegrasses, which just makes for fat sheep, and if fat sheep are bad, sugar's bad for me, and frankly it is. Why is it good for my sheep? The answer is no, it's not good for my sheep. Healthy sheep aren't fat. Graham shouldn't be fat either. So if the sheep take a little bit longer to grow, I don't care. I'm happy. If the sheep are producing slightly fewer lambs, and I'm talking just a little bit fewer lambs, I don't care, because wool is my crop. And if they're happier and healthier as a result of how I farm, then what I can do is I can give you these. These are a small selection of my wools. North Country Cheviot, Castle Milk Murret. This one's been blended with a little bit of alpaca. So it just lightens the tone. These are undyed. All of these are undyed, unbleached, naturally coloured. Because once you start to think about the environmental impact of your product, then sky's the limit. It's just a question of what you're prepared to do and pay. Now, I'm quite happy to take a small financial hit in the profitability of these yarns by farming in a slightly more expensive manner. All I need for you guys is to buy them. So anyway, in closing, now this has just been a very small, very amateurishly produced talk, and what I want to leave you with is just one thought. The whole health of my farm has improved. That means the birds, the insects, the little furry animals, my sheep, me, the grass, the insects, the fungus, everything is doing better. And it's a good future potential way of farming that's sustainable, and it puts the environment at the heart of the farm for reasons of you should do it anyway, but also because it's economically sound and good for doing it. Anyhow, I'm almost out of time, so I'm going to cut it short here. Thank you for listening. If you want to know more, look at my website, Caithness Yarns, and we're hoping to do a Q&A session in some way. Okay? Thank you very much. Have a good day.